When IO Interactive released Hitman Codename 47 on PC at the turn of the century, they gave players a new kind of stealthy experience. IO Interactive looked at the design of the stealth game space and the AI patrolling it, and made it possible for players to hide in plain sight. They could trick the system into thinking Agent 47 was part of it by becoming one of the enemy. They could plan a flawless victory where his targets might have seen him coming, but never guessed his intentions. At least, not until it was too late. The idea of a stealth game protagonist in disguise has been around for a while. Almost for as long as stealth games have existed, in fact. The first thing players are expected to do in one of the earliest stealth games, Castle Wolfenstein, is find an SS officer's uniform to disguise themselves with. Without this change of clothes, all enemies are instantly hostile to the player's character, and a couple of shots is all it takes to make them into a corpse. The sequel, Beyond Castle Wolfenstein, casts players as an already disguised spy, so there is no need to find a guard's uniform, but players still have to find and use various floor passes to maintain their disguise and avoid rousing the suspicions of any local SS officers. Infiltrator also uses a gameplay structure that mixes up the disguise elements from the earlier Castle Wolfenstein games, though it's a lot less reliable when it comes to whether or not the player character's ruse actually works. And who could forget the cardboard boxes from the Metal Gear series, which give players a temporary hiding spot in a hostile game space. Tenchu, Stealth Assassins, and Thief the Dark Project also offer gameplay elements, or indeed entire missions, that are based around the idea of assuming a disguise to subvert their respective systems. In Tenchu, a special item, the Chameleon spell, allows players to temporarily cloak their characters as an apparent enemy or civilian, which is handy when looking to bypass heavily guarded areas. While in Thief, the mission Undercover is set in a Militant Order's stronghold, where the player character is disguised as one of the Order's low-ranking initiates. Unlike every other mission in the game, it doesn't matter if enemies see the player. Instead, the player has to find out how to steal a treasured artifact without breaking their cover, then make a clean getaway. You get the idea. Disguises had been used in stealth games for nearly 2 decades before Hitman Codename 47 came along, and they ranged from being a core design mechanism to simply offering an additional flavour of stealth-based gameplay. So, what's special about Hitman Codename 47's disguise factor? Put simply, this was the first stealth game to take the idea of hiding in plain sight and push it just that little bit further than it had been before. The developers at IO Interactive recognised the appeal and the tension that could be drawn out of stepping into a forbidden zone that was filled with enemies who were looking directly at your character and may or may not clock onto your true identity. A situation where you had to be prepared to not only adjust your character's disguise, but adopt specific patterns of behaviour in order to slip through the game's system unnoticed. This is one of the key building blocks in Hitman Codename 47's own brand of stealth-based gameplay, where the player has to somehow pass through the system as smoothly as possible, then choose their moments to reveal themselves and strike at their objectives. Looked at in retrospect, Hitman Codename 47 suffers from a number of issues with its AI and checkpoint systems, and yeah, we'll get to those. Before that, I want to focus on what Hitman Codename 47 tries to achieve through its gameplay structures and how it succeeds in these ambitions. IO Interactive set out to give players the experience of being a modern-day assassin across a variety of scenarios, from rooftop sniper missions to restaurant poisonings, hotel room executions to car bombings, arms deals at the docks to jungle trap. What is this? The point is, Hitman Codename 47 offers a range of environments, and as the genetically engineered super assassin, Agent 47, your job is to blend in, find your targets, and take them down, or secure other key objectives. Learning how to camouflage yourself while staying in near constant sight of the enemy is a crucial part of the experience. With a few exceptions, Agent 47 begins each mission in his trademark black suit and red tie, but he can make use of just about any male clothing he can get his hands on. The tricky part is that all potential disguises are being worn by the non-player characters, or NPCs, walking around the game space. So, players have to take a few things into account when identifying a potential NPC whose clothes can be stolen. A successful disguise hinges on being able to eliminate your victim without getting spotted, as well as hiding the body so that no civilians will be alerted and none of the guards will know to look for an intruder in their midst. It should go without saying that enemies will always react with hostility if Agent 47 has his weapons drawn, so remembering to keep those holstered is similarly crucial. Beyond tricking the system into thinking Agent 47 is one of its NPCs, the player's ability to disguise Agent 47 has more practical uses when it comes to infiltrating enemy strongholds and locating mission objectives. Once disguised, Agent 47 is theoretically treated as an NPC by the game's system. He can assume the roles of intended targets in order to get close to his objectives. He can walk into places he wouldn't otherwise be allowed to go. As a civilian, there are only so many places you can infiltrate without being harassed by the AI. But if you manage to grab an enemy guard, neutralize them and take their uniform without being detected in the process, Agent 47 can safely pass under the watchful gazes of other enemies, and even gain access to restricted areas. Hitman Codename 47 might not have been the first stealth game to use disguises, but it was the first stealth game to partition its spaces in this nuanced way. Restricted areas within restricted areas. And when a barrier presents itself, players are encouraged to locate a suitable disguise from an enemy or civilian, or even mimic the behaviour of one of the local NPCs in order to penetrate further into the game space. Other ways in might include having a good reason to be somewhere civilians normally wouldn't, or setting up a temporary distraction so local guards wouldn't catch Agent 47 somewhere he shouldn't be. There's always the option to push your way through, guns blazing and all that, but even on easier difficulties this is a tough approach to take. Hitman Codename 47, like its stealth genre forebears, discourages players from resorting to direct confrontation. When the AI is alerted to the player's location, armed guards can come at you en masse, and primary targets might even make a run for it. All in all, this is not a game where the all-guns-blazing approach should be expected to pay off. The game's preference for stealth is made even clearer by how each mission has an optimal method for success, all dependent on the player's ability to blend in, time their moves, and avoid getting caught doing something or being somewhere they shouldn't. It's understandable that Hitman Codename 47's insistence on a stealthy approach where possible might seem odd, given the sheer volume of weaponry it throws at players, which, by the way, happens to include miniguns, pump-action shotguns, assault rifles, submachine guns, and light machine guns. But ultimately, the game wants players to put down their high-powered assault weapons and move closer towards the discreet, artful route of targeted assassinations. Altogether, the Hitman experience is one of immense vulnerability. The player's target is just a headshot away from being a corpse, but so is Agent 47. Oh, sure, you can buy some Kevlar armour to make Agent 47 a bit less squishy against body shots on easier difficulties. Once that difficulty knob is turned up though, you might as well not have bothered. There are also checkpoints, but not quite as we know them. If Agent 47 dies, at least on easier difficulties, he's resurrected at the last autosave and players can carry on from there. So far so normal, right? The problem is that the system's awareness of the player as a threat persists, which means the moment you stand up after getting knocked down, you're forced into another gunfight, and another, and another. This is such a bizarre thing that I can't decide whether it was a deliberate move from IO Interactive, or if the autosave feature suffers from a colossal bug of some sort. The lack of a quick save option for lengthier missions does push the tension into overdrive at critical moments, and that's to be commended, At the same time, it's difficult to ignore the fact that Hitman Codename 47's interwoven systems aren't always readable by the player, and this can lead to making kills you thought were undetectable, but it turned out the system detected you anyway. If I'm describing this kindly, there's a lot of trial and error at play in some of Hitman Codename 47's missions, and because of this, having the option to quick save the game would have been hugely beneficial. Another thing, of all the weapons in this game, the first game of the Hitman series, only the sniper rifles, the Oyaban knife, and piano wire are guaranteed to kill your target in one well-timed, well-aimed stroke. Silenced pistols are a good secondary option when you have to take out more than one guard quickly, but you also have to be so careful to ensure a headshot that you might as well use the knife or piano wire instead when it's a single target. Car bombs are also guaranteed to get the job done, but since they're only used in very specific missions, it felt wrong to count them as viable weapons. In general, my point is that gun accuracy and stopping power are a bit of a curveball in Hitman Codename 47, and when players try to take on the system directly, this can become immensely frustrating. All of the above has led me to conclude that this is a game designed around conditioning players to find an optimum route to success in each level, rather than being designed as an open-ended stealth-based action experience. When things go according to plan, it's immensely satisfying. When a single mistake is made, there's a palpable risk that everything will go straight to hell. Despite allusions to the contrary with its firearm fascination and dodgy checkpoints, Hitman Codename 47 is primarily a stealth game, and it brought a new kind of spatial awareness to the stealth genre with Agent 47's use of disguises. It succeeds in that it offers players the experience of being a calculated, modern-day assassin who waltzes up to their target and wraps piano wire around their neck, or stays hidden at range and puts a bullet through their skull, or indeed finds other unique methods to dispose of their victims. It encourages players to gather intel, look for opportunities, and then capitalise on them from within the system itself. A stealth game of infiltration, observation, execution.